healthy because everyone's doing it. So after Prohibition, and like I said, the very same thing first happened here in Portland after that law, the state, and then nationally. So you had businesses prospering, people went back to work. Families were reunited, and communities, homes. Have you ever heard of the Keeley Cure Centers?
Mm-mm.
Well, that's because they don't have them anymore. They were all closed after Prohibition. Keeley Cure Centers were alcoholic rehabilitation centers.
Oh.
They were all closed. Prisons. Now, contrary to what PBS or in a public TV, their accounts of Prohibition, contrary to what they're saying, contrary to what they were saying?
About prisons.
Crime. They said crime went up. They just reference Al Capone. Al Capone, crime went up. It was terrible. All this bootlegging and all. Well, before Prohibition, all of this was going on. All of that crime was happening before Prohibition. Crime went down. I have books of the era. Government statistics of how crime went down. Some prisons were closed. So, it's a lie. Did Al Capone have fun during those days? You bet he did. And so did a lot of small fish, so to speak. But there was prosperity. I mean, look, the Roaring 20s. And so then when the alcohol industry saw that this was, serious, they started buying off, and there are other books to tell that tells about that from the period. They started buying off legislators, and here we go again. Now, over the years, we've become smart. Medicine has improved. Doctors know a lot more. Technology has improved, so we understand what alcohol does to the body and its destructive ways and how much it costs people, societies, drunkenness, fatalities. So that's why we have a law as to how much alcohol you can drink and drive.
Right.
We have laws against drugs. We have laws against. Why would we have a law against all of this stuff if it wasn't harmful? So you can see that times have changed and the way we look upon things have changed, and it's because of Neal Dow and his movement. Now we've got a lot more to work on. Today in Maine we got this. What?
Yeah. Can add. I think he wrote 3 questions. He wanted to make sure.
I think you already answered pretty much 2 of them. The last one is, what's the legacy of Neal Dow?
The legacy?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think?
The WCTU, really?
What else?
Well, what do you mean? What's your question mean?
I don't.
Yes, you
legacy.
do. Yes, you
Legacy
do.
is that key word from the National History Day competition. That's the word they gave us. But
so legacy would be
present. What's related to him present day?
From his accomplishments.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? Seriously, what do you think?
That people aren't drunk really anymore. You don't really see drunk people walking around in the
honey,
streets.
you don't live where I live.
that's right. We don't in our town. That's right.
But Adam, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make it light, but you're right. They're usually cleaning up that element of society and try to help them, don't we? We try to help them now, Yeah, that's one thing. What else? What else do you see? I think you can answer that question, Adam, if you think about why it was necessary to begin with.
Mm.
And then,
Because it was just getting too bad. It's just getting worse. So, he really fixed the problem.
you know what he says in here? Of course, see if I can find it. He says, and he says it over and over, something to the effect that, what benefit does alcohol do for society? What is the benefit? And there is none.
Mm.
It's destructive. If you talk to people who like a glass of wine with their dinner, with their meal, and or a little brandy after, well, this is, people who are supposedly sophisticated know that they, I don't mean to skip around, but the WCTU isn't here today to say, don't do that.
The heat.
This is the old-time heat, radiators. But really, there is no benefit. There is no benefit. And that's what he says throughout this book. If there was a benefit, then there wouldn't be a need to make a law to prohibit it. If there was a benefit to society. So I think if you think about it, think about the whole thing, and then what he accomplished. He didn't see it happen in his lifetime, but I think he knew.
Did children stop drinking in his lifetime? Because so one of the stories they said is that the reason why Neal Dow was the crusader.
Because he saw a little kid in an alley fall over drunk, and he was like helping him.
Yeah. Well, once they educate, you see, it, like I said, it started with, it wouldn't have worked unless the churches, the pastors behind the pulpit got on board. It wouldn't have worked. He says that himself. He needed that
Leverage.
Yeah. He just needed, that. He needed the people who had the influence over the people to come out and say, for the first time, this is harmful. This is destroying A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And so when you get the leaders of the community saying that, and actually telling people, if you drink, you cannot come back into this church, you're excommunicated. You're taking it seriously. So, yeah.
Did you have any other questions on there?
No, I think they're all answered.
All right. Let me look at, I had some too.
Okay.
All right, one or two.
Would you like some more tea, anybody?
Yes, please.
Let me find my page.
No, one is.
Yeah.
Me.
There we go.
How about
I
you?
did that. Just a smidge would be great to heat it up. Thank you.
I don't know how heated it's going to be. I should have covered this.
I think you got mine too.
Help yourself. Well,
I'd love to hear a little bit about the Women's Christian Temperance Union today. Just a few,
Sure.
it's interesting how it evolved over time in the same, that and I think it's interesting why did they keep the word temperance? I think that's one,
Stephanie, you don't know how many people say, get rid of the name.
I do, I believe that. But I just think that's...
And it's a good question. It's really a good consideration.
Okay.
But before I get into the WCTU, there's a book I hope they have in the library.
Okay, well, look.
This was written by Fred.
Oh, nice.
And you want a synopsis of everything. He really
that sounds
summarizes
lovely.
His father's life and why.
Yeah.
Why. This is my second...
Because between him and his dad, they lived through all of it, right?
Well, of course,
The
Fred
amendment?
lived through Prohibition.
Right.
But yes, he grew up with his father.
But I'm just saying,
starving
so if he talked about his dad's life and then talked about his life, it would have covered the whole expanse.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is great, because that's the piece we're missing a little bit, I think.
Well, and also, I don't know if they'll have anything on Lillian Stevens, but she, like I said,
Okay.
it was her efforts that got Prohibition passed.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this is what the people of the day, she was a dynamic speaker, just like Neal was. Dynamic.
I figured he had to be a dynamic
Yeah.
speaker because of how, of all of the appearances he was making. If he was terrible, they wouldn't keep asking him.
Yeah,
So
to
I
come.
figured that had to be.
That's right. That's
They wouldn't
right.
invite you to Europe to come speak if you weren't good.
Yeah, over and over and over again.
Well, that's neat.
Well, the WCTU, again, we are, I am now the state president of the WCTU.
That's neat.
It's not what it used to be. There's a lot to do, and I feel very honored and privileged, believe me. This is just, I'll give this to you, this just tells a little bit about,
Oh, good.
not a lot, but, just a little synopsis of what we are. And what is this? Oh, I didn't mean to pick this up, did I? The WCTU, you can go on the national site. It's not
Okay.
that great. It really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the last time they did anything to it. And don't even try ours yet.
Well, I liked you on Facebook, but there wasn't anything there yet, because I was going, well, maybe it'll say, because I had read, that you guys had the Neal Dow house. So I'm like, okay, so if I go to the website, so an easy one to do is just the about, so you can fill in just that little bit. It's really easy.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
promise.
Stephanie,
I
the last
know.
meeting we had, we're just, when I say we're starting from scratch, we're starting from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah.
Because for about 15 years, it's been almost, anyway, and that's
Okay.
a story you don't even need to go into.
Okay.
So we're starting all over, 21st century.
Yeah,
This, our last meeting, we talked about the website,
Yeah.
Facebook,
Yeah.
Twitter,
yeah,
and, some other things that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So yes, we understand, and now we've got to get the people who can help us do it.
Yeah.
And so what I'll just say what Maine is doing nationally. It's struggling. We do have a new president in there. This is her second term around. She's a fighter, and we'll wait and see on what she will do this time around. So in Maine, since we are very small and we're just starting, we're going to, the number one issue is the marijuana issue. And I just made up this, and this is a new brochure that we just made up that we want to get around here. I've got two here. And what we're going to do, we want to be the go-to organization on marijuana. We want to take the front line on this, since there really isn't anyone fighting it openly. We're not saying this out loud right now, so I'll tell you something confidential. We are in the process of writing up legislation.
Oh.
So this is just.
yeah, okay.
And we really believe LePage will be part of this, sponsoring that. And, with the new legislature, we'll see who else is brave enough to step up to sponsor it.
Yeah,
So we're really, we're starting to go around and talking about this issue in churches and wherever, because they're not getting the truth.
yeah.
It's hard, again, it's
Right.
God made it.
Right.
It's natural.
Yeah.
What's harmful about it? Don't you like that? I thought that was great. I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah.
And we are being bold. We're going to say they lied.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lie. So that Maine is always, we're always going to deal with the alcohol issue because, it is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still the number one problem
Right.
nationally.
Well, what might work well for you too is that I did hear, I think on the radio, about how LePage was going to be working on the physical abuse, men and women
yes,
physical
yes.
abuse thing,
Yeah.
and alcohol has got to be present in 99.9% of those
Right.
kinds of.
Right, and drugs.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my guess is if there are drugs, I bet alcohol still 99.9 is present
yeah, always.
in those altercations. So that might be a good foothold in putting those together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
And Maine has a
always.
huge domestic violence. That's what
Yes.
that's called.
Oh,
Domestic violence, because it's in the home, and yeah, that's the word.
Now, what I wanted to talk to you about is the national WCTU through the states, through each state. We have contests. We have 2 different contests. One is a poster for your age group. We have a poster contest. This is just the small version of just example of, this is what kids have come up with. And all we ask for the kids is just this part, we do, whatever information on the back. We also have writing contests. And each one of these you get money for. And if if you win, or in the finalists, then you get to go to national. We pay your way to national.
Oh.
And, obviously with mommy or daddy or both. And you get to show.
I like that one.
And these are
that's
just
nice.
like
That's a good
3 we have, of course, over the years. We've got tons of these things. So, that is just, and I don't have anything to tell you about it, because the National is putting together new things now, because
Yeah.
we just had an election. So she just took office, and she's going to. So if you don't mind, I'll send you something, see if you're interested.
That sounds great.
Because you don't have to go to the convention, but,
Right.
it's.
Right. That sounds great. Thank you for
Yeah.
thinking of him.
Yeah. Great. So, I don't know what else I've got here. This is just another marijuana thing we have.
Yeah. Look and see.
Oh, and this was another thing. This is our newsletter, and again, getting into the 21st century, I don't think we're going to have publications like that anymore. We're going to put everything on the web.
I think you're right. But you know what? This year I went back to sending out actual Christmas cards, because
Oh, I
I
do
also feel like people get so inundated on their email that it's like, and if they get 5 in a day, they're not going to read 5 necessarily. Whereas if it's really in your hand,
Yes.
so it has flipped.
It's nice to see the cards.
Yes,
Isn't it
absolutely.
better if you read it.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
This is just a little, we need new material.
Yeah.
We do, gosh, we did have something on prohibition too. But I don't think I could put my hands on it. So if that's what I was gonna get, a catalog. If you can order a catalog from National, and you can see all the different, they do have some material on prohibition.
That's
Wait a minute,
interesting.
let me see if I can put my,
Okay.
that's what I forgot to get.